jazz music, because there's many good people playing in that record, but the style of the alto is so different from anything else that's on the record or that went before. Did you realize at that time what effect you were going to have on jazz, and you were going to change the entire scene in the next 10 years?
Well, let's put it like this. No, I had no idea that it was that much different.
Well,
I'd like to stick in a question, if I may. I'd like to know why there was this violent change, really. After all, up until this time, the way to play the alto sax was the way that Johnny Hodges and Benny Carter played alto. And this seems to be an entirely different conception, not just of how to play that particular horn, but music in general.
yeah, how to play any horn.
I don't think there's any answer to.
It's just the way you
speaking,
felt.
John. Yeah, that's what I said when I first started talking. That's my first conception, man. That's the way I thought it should go, and I still do. I mean, of course, it could stand much improvement. Most likely in another 25 or maybe 50 years, some youngster will come along and take the style and really do something with it, you know? But, I mean, ever since I've ever heard music, I thought it should be very clean, very precise, as clean as possible anyway, you know? And more or less to the people, you know, something they could understand, something that was beautiful, you know? Because definitely there's stories and stories and stories that can be told in the musical idiom, you know? You wouldn't say idiom either. It's so hard to describe music other than the basic way to describe it. Music is basically melody, harmony, and rhythm. But, I mean, people can do much more with music than that. It can be very descriptive in all kinds of ways, you know? All walks of life. Don't you agree, Paul?
Yeah, and you always do have a story to tell. It's one of the most impressive things about everything I've ever heard of yours.
Well, that's more or less the object. That's where I thought it should be.
Uh-huh. Another thing that's been a major factor in your playing is this fantastic technique that nobody's quite equaled. And I always wondered about that, too, whether there was, whether that came behind practicing or whether that was just from playing, whether it evolved gradually.
Well, you make it so hard for me to answer, you know, because I can't see where there's anything fantastic about it at all. I put quite a bit of study into the horn, that's true. In fact, the neighbors threatened to ask my mother to move once when I was living out west. I mean, they said I was driving them crazy with the horn. I used to put in at least from 11 to 15 hours a day.
Yeah, that's what I wondered.
Well, that's true, yes. I did that for over a period of 3 or 4 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess that's the answer.
Well, that's the facts anyway.
Yeah. I heard a record of yours a couple of months ago that somehow I've missed up to date, and I heard about a 2-bar quote from the Close A book. It was like an echo from home.
Oh. Yeah. Well, it was all done with books, you know. Naturally, it wasn't done with mirrors. This time it was done with books.
That's very reassuring to hear, because somehow I got the idea that you were just sort of born with that technique, and you never had to worry too much about keeping it working.
You know, I'm very glad that he's bringing out this point, because I think a lot of young musicians tend to think that...
Yeah, they do. They just
go out... necessary to do this.
Go out and make those sessions and live the life, but they don't put in that 11 hours a day with any of the books.
Oh, definitely. Study is absolutely necessary in all forms. It's just like any talent that's born within somebody. It's just like a good pair of shoes when you put a shine on it, you know? Like schooling brings out the polish, you know, of any talent that happens anywhere in the world. Einstein had schooling, but he has a definite genius, you know, within himself. Schooling is one of the most wonderful things there's ever been, you know?
I'm glad to hear you say this.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Well?
What another record?
Yeah. Which one should we take this time?
You want to skip a little while? And Charlie picked out Night and Day.
Okay.
As one of his records. This is with a band or with strings?
No, this is just with the large bands. I think there's about 19 pieces on this.
Why don't we listen to it and then talk about it?
Bells.
Okay.
Charlie, this brings us kind of up to where you and Diz started joining forces. The next record we have coming up. Where did you first meet Dizzy Gillespie?
Well, the first time our official meeting, I might say, was on the bandstand at Savoy Ballroom in New York City in 1939. When McShann's band first came to New York. I'd been to New York previously, but I went back west and rejoined the band and came back to New York with it. Dizzy came by one night. I think at the time he was working with Cab Calloway's band. And he sat in the band, and I was quite fascinated with the fellow. And we became very good friends, and until this day we are, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the first time I ever had the pleasure to meet Dizzy Gillespie.
Well, was he playing the same way then, before he played with you?
I don't remember precisely. I just know that he was playing what you might call in the vernacular of the streets, a buku of horn, you know?
Buku?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, just like all of the horn packed up in once, you know?
Huh.
And we used to go around different places and jam together. We had quite a bit of fun in those days. And shortly after the McShann band went west again, I went out with them, and I came back to New York again. I found Dizzy again in the Earl Hines organization in 1941. And I joined the band with him. I was in New York. We both stayed on the band about a year. It was Earl Hines, Dizzy Gillespie, Sarah Vaughan, Billy Eckstein, Gail Brockman, Thomas Crump, there was Shadow Wilson. Quite a few names that you'd recognize in the music world today, you know, on that band.
It's quite a collection.
And that band broke up in 41. In 42, Dizzy was in New York. He formed his own little combination in the Three Deuces, New York City. And I joined his band there. That's when these records you're about to play now, we made these in 42 in New York.
Yeah. I guess the first time I heard that group was, you came out to Billy Berg's.
Oh, yes, but that was 45. That was later. We'll get to that.
Okay. I'm just illustrating how far I was behind all this.
Oh, don't be that way.
Okay.
Modesty will get you nowhere.
I'm hip.
So it's been this 1942 one?
Yeah.
Okay, this is a Groovin' High with Dizzy and Charlie. Some others.
Yes.
I guess was it Slam Stewart and Remo Palmieri, I guess. I don't know
Yes.
who was on piano.
I think that was Clyde Hart.
Yes, I think so.
And Big Sid Catlett.
Oh.
Deceased now.
You said at that time New York was jumping in 42.
Yeah, New York was, well, those were what you might call the good old days, you know, Paul?
Oh, yeah.
Gay youth.
Tell me about it.
Well, descriptively, just like I was going to say, gay youth, lack of funds.
Listen to Grandfather Parker talking here.
There was nothing to do but play, you know, and we had a lot of fun trying to play, you know. I did.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of jam sessions. Meant much late hours. Plenty good food. Just nice, clean living, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But basically speaking, much poverty.
Yeah. That's always good, too. No worries.
It has its place, definitely, in life.
Uh-huh. Oh. Would you like that sort of situation to have continued indefinitely?
Well, whether I liked it or not, it really did, Paul. I'm glad it finally blew over of a sort. And I do mean of a sort.
Oh.
Yeah, I enjoy this a little much more, in fact, and have the pleasure to work with the same guys of a sort, and I've met other young fellows, you know, that come along. I enjoy working with them when I have the pleasure to. If I might say, you yourself, Paul.
Oh, thanks, Charlie.
Sure, I've had lots of fun working with you, man. It's a pleasure to know you. David Brubeck. Well, lots of other fellows have come along, you know, since that era, that particular era. That, I mean, it makes you feel that everything you did wasn't for naught, you know. That you really tried to prove something, and...
Well, man, you really proved it.
You know.
I think you did more than anybody in the last 10 years to leave a decisive mark in the history of jazz.
Well, not yet, Paul, but I intend to. I'd like to study some more. I'm not quite through yet. I don't consider myself too old to learn.
No, I know many people are watching you at the moment with the greatest of interest to see what you're going to come up with next in the next few years. Myself among the front row of them. And well, what have you got in mind? What are you going to be doing?
Well, seriously speaking, I mean, I'm going to try to go to Europe to study. I had the pleasure to meet one Edgar Varese in New York City. He's a classical composer from Europe. He's a Frenchman. Very nice fellow, and he wants to teach me. In fact, he wants to write for me, do some things for me for, more or less on a serious basis,
Mm-hmm.
And if he takes me over, I mean, after he finishes with me, I might have a chance to go to Académie de Musicale in Paris itself and study, And, well, my prime interest still is learning to play music,
Would you study playing or composition or everything?
I would study both. I never want to lose my horn.
Yeah, you never should. That would be catastrophe.
I never want to do that. That wouldn't work.
Uh-huh. Well, we're kind of getting ahead of the record sequence here, but it's been most fascinating. You want to say something about Miles Davis?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you how I met Miles. In 1944, Billy Eckstein formed his own organization. Dizzy was on that band also. Lucky Thompson. It was Art Blakey.
Oh, yeah.
Tommy Potter. And a lot of other fellas. And last and least, yours truly.
And modesty will get you nowhere, Charlie.
I had the pleasure to meet Miles for the first time in St. Louis when he was a youngster. He was still going to school. Later on, he came to New York. He finished Juilliard. Miles did. He graduated from Juilliard. And at the time, I was just beginning to get my band together, 5 pieces here and 5 pieces there. So I formed a band and took it into the Three Deuces for maybe 7 or 8 weeks. And at the time, Dizzy, after the Eckstein organization broke up, Dizzy was about to form his own band. There were so many things taking place then. I mean, it's hard to describe it because it happened in a matter of months. Nevertheless, I went to California in 1945 with Dizzy after I broke up my band, the first band I had. And I came back again to New York in 47, the early part of 47. And that's when I decided to have a band of my own permanently. And Miles was in my original band. I had Miles, I had Max, I had Tommy Potter, and Al Haig in my band.
Mm-hmm.
Another band I had Stan Levy, I had Curly Russell, I had Miles, and George Wellington.
Yeah.
But I think you have a record out there that one of the records we made with Max and Miles, I think, and yours truly, Tommy, and Duke Jordan. What is it? I think it's Perhaps, is it not so?
Right.
Well, this came along in the years of, say, 47, 46, 47. These particular sides were made in New York City. WNEW, 1440 Broadway. And this is the beginning of my career as a band leader.
Okay, well, let's listen to Perhaps.